Welcome, everyone, to GCEC Virtual Connection. Here we are in August 2026. My name is Jeff Reed from Georgetown University, and I'm really excited to be here once again, bringing our GCEC community together to learn from one another. And we'll have an amazing program starting in just a minute or so. But before then, I want to give a great plug for things that are coming up soon. And the biggest thing coming up soon in GCEC world is our annual conference in the middle of October in Tallahassee, Florida. You can see on the slide here the last day to register for the discounted registration is this coming Monday. So get it done, folks. It's going to be a great conference. There's a QR code here. I'm pretty sure Holly's going to put a link in the chat. So you can just click the link and register while we're on screen here today. It's a great opportunity. So I'm looking forward to the conference. I've got my flight, hotel, everything booked out. I never miss a GCEC conference pretty much since 1999, except for a couple of years when I wasn't working for universities. I've attended almost every year for the last 27 years, and this one I know is going to be special. The folks at Florida State are really pulling out all the stops. We've got some new affinity groups, including women in entrepreneurship and liberal arts entrepreneurship. That adds to the Jesuit Entrepreneurship Center Alliance that we've had for a few years. And we've got an upgraded launch pad for center leaders. So that's a great educational program, as well as new member orientation. And then a whole set of keynotes and panels and presentations by your peers. The GCC annual conference it's a lot of fun. It's also just an amazing way to learn from one another. So look forward to seeing you there. I can't forget to put a plug in for the pre-conference tours. These are optional if you want to get to town a little early. I believe all of these happen on the Thursday of the conference, so maybe fly in on Wednesday if you want. And everything from Main Street entrepreneurship to Florida caverns. I got to tell you, I don't ever do the caverns tours. I get claustrophobic, even though some of those caverns I know are really large. It just, to me, it doesn't feel good. I get claustrophobic in normal rooms, much less like caves sort of things. But that should be a lot of fun. I know there are a lot of interest in these different activities. So good way to learn more about Florida fun and culture. All right. So with that, I'm gonna now turn over to today's speaker, Mike Brzezek from VentureWell. And as you can see, we're going to learn a lot about intellectual property. What do you know and what are you teaching your students around IP issues? And so with that, over to you, Mike. Mike's going to give us a presentation and then we'll have time for Q&A. Thanks, Mike.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. And thank you, everyone, for joining me today. And also, as they say, good afternoon if you're on the East Coast. And of course, those that are on the West Coast of California, good morning still. But my name is Mike Brzezek. I'm Director of Higher Education Innovation Ecosystems with VentureWell. And today I'm going to talk to you about the Inventors Patent Academy partnership we have with Qualcomm and a little bit about that to use as a tool in your innovation centers, entrepreneurship centers, classrooms, and around campus. A little bit of a backstory about us as VentureWell. If you're not familiar with us, we are an organization of over 30 years, nonprofit organization. We serve in many different types of capacities as an entrepreneurship support organization, but our goal is innovation to impact and solving the challenges that we have and creating a pipeline of inventors and innovators through our partnerships in higher ed, the government, and also industry in many different areas. But the goal is to continue to build capacity in I&E and to provide tools, technical support, and also funding in many different areas towards supporting this endeavor. And so we invest in individuals, we invest in institutions, we grow ecosystems in the work that we've done. We continue to champion many different types of places and innovation-based areas, lens of inclusive innovation, lens in sustainability, and many different types of funding priorities in what we call STEM I&E. And also we provide a lot of technical assistance and a lot of programming that we provide, but also the partnerships that we provide, whether it's in the regional, state, or national levels. And we've done this in quite an area, and we all know the statistics out there. Shortage of STEM workforce, over 1.4 million by 2030. But we continue to build on that in training and development of student inventor entrepreneurs. We also help in the advancement of new ideas and technologies. Some of you might be familiar with us through iCore. For close to 15 years now, we've been the chief administrator of the NIN, which is the National Innovators Network, which is all 13 iCore hubs and 2,200 nodes. We also oversee programs and advancement for over 250 IUCRC programs nationally. And so we do a lot with startups in development, but also in programmatic approaches to help institutions advance. We have three main verticals. I'm not going to go into crazy amounts of that, but I lead the innovation ecosystems vertical in a lot of different programs and administrative support that we provide for higher education and entrepreneurship centers. We also do a lot in venture development with what we call our E-Teams program. If you're not familiar with E-Teams, we provide 3 cycles per year of training and development from customer discovery to business model canvassing to venturing and VC development towards their ideas and commercialization. And then on our commercialization vertical, we provide a lot of support. We have the NIH RADx program, ARPA-H programs, and investor catalyst areas. We do a lot in biomedical research and biomedical scaling and commercialization. So we have a lot of diversity across our portfolios and verticals in providing entrepreneurship support for a lot of our partners. Some of our results over 30 years created 24,000 individuals that we've trained. We've awarded over $30 million in grants through a lot of programs that we offer. Over 900 patents have been produced with the work that we've engaged with and engaged over 1,200 higher education institutions and have launched over 5,000 ventures that created over $6 billion in commercialization results. We're a nonprofit. We do not take equity or a lot of our funding is done through non-dilutive sources, through our funding mechanisms. And we do a lot of not only national programs, but we have over 8 global programs, especially with one example I was on a project with was the IFAD program this year, which is the International Fund for Agricultural Development and working in agriculture innovation. So we have a large breadth and depth of a lot of programs that we produce with a lot of different types of partnerships that we have. And one of them today is the one that's right there in the center with our partnership with Qualcomm. Qualcomm's been one of our partners for over 15 years and have provided a lot of support for our student inventors and student innovation. But this one is also broader in introducing the Inventors Patent Academy to you all. And
All
so
right,
I'm going to
Mike,
talk.
I'm just going
Yes,
to jump in real quick. And
sure.
Mike, you did a great job outlining VentureWell. I just want to give a shout out to VentureWell to add on to what you said. It's just an amazing organization. It is different than, university-based entrepreneur center, but the work you guys do is very directly supporting the work that we all do in our university roles. So
Hmm.
just a big shout out to VentureWell for being a great part of the ecosystem for a long time.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving the overview. Sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt. I
No,
just want
no,
to make
thanks,
sure
Chef.
that
I
to
appreciate
emphasize it.
the validation there and big thumbs up for that. But yeah, I mean, we are a partner and we are an ecosystem partner. And people look at us through many different lenses, whether as a funder, whether as technical assistance and support, whether as a partner also in federal funded programs, or like I mentioned, NIH and NSF, but also, like I said, we do things with DOE, DOD, and NIST and EDA, other programs too. I bring that up to say that we also help and provide assistance, but also partnerships in programs that you might be interested in, and also looking to receive funding for your institution. And what I mean by that is we do a lot of work in evaluation and design as an external evaluator, but also as a partner, whether it's a co-PI or a sub or even a prime, if you're looking at a particular type of program. So if you're looking at solicitations down the road, whether it's NSF and the ART program, Accelerating Research Translation, we have a number of partners in that program that we continue to work with. Whether it's a ATA program, they were just announced the other day, the Advancement in Technical Education, which involves community colleges on up. please think of us as a partner. And we have a whole team that we work with, and the team that I help coordinate with. That if you have an idea and maybe your capacity at your entrepreneurship center is a little limited, or on the grant writing side, or on the sponsored program side, we are a partner in that aspect as well too. That we can help and look at it and see if it's a viable area, but also help with the success rates of awards. And we understand in the current climate that we're in, when it comes to funding mechanisms, not only on the federal side, but also on the state, regional, and philanthropic side, it's quite challenging out there. So we would love to partner and have those conversations, which I talk about federal, but we've done a lot also in regional consortia and state consortia as well too. So thanks. So talking about TIPA, I'm going to say TIPA now from now, like INE, I'm going to say TIPA, but TIPA stands for the Inventors Patent Academy, but it is a free learning platform that is offered for you. It's for students, faculty, staff. If you work with your tech transfer and commercialization offices, if you work for sponsored research and programs or academic affairs, it's for everybody. And it's a great resource to use for student inventors, entrepreneurs, or faculty to integrate into your curricula or in as a resource as your entrepreneurship center for students to kind of learn more about ideas, inventions, patents, creativity, and what does that process look like? Think of it almost like a little bit of a primer to a pre-I-Core type of program. It doesn't get into the customer discovery and the modeling aspects of it, but it really just gets to know what an idea is about and why patenting is important in that ideation process, and also as they continue to scale and move forward in INE itself. And so, kind of already jumped the gun on that by saying why are patents important, but it really rewards innovation. And it's also the economic driver. It's the ability to protect that IP, whether it's in pre-patenting for pre-IP or going into the IP area. It also helps with the funding mechanisms in the venturing side. We do, like I said, regional, state, national workshops on ventures and funding. And what's one of the things that we bring in different partners, whether it's through the Licensing Executive Society, or through the Federal Lab Consortia or others, that really talks and resonates about the importance of the patenting process. And it is one of the areas that really creates the linchpin. And we've heard all the stories from entrepreneurs out there and their journeys and process, both successes and failures, but also some of the arduous journeys they had in explaining why the patenting process is important. So that's what this program is about. It gets students exposed to what a patent is about to protect the IP, and also to understand the competitive nature and the economic impact that the IP gives to them as they go through their IP process. So, you probably might teach this in your class or offer it in your centers, but I mean, some of the things that the IP does cover in these modules, but kind of covers in those other areas, is not only just the exclusive rights and also the protection of the IP, but also different types of patents that are available. So one of the introductory modules that the TIPA program does have is to expose people to what the different types of patents that are out there. But also you might even use this in your classroom as case studies of how design patents can get kind of murky at times and how legal challenges occur, and but also how an inventor's idea gets challenged at times when other funders or other organizations try to either take from the patent idea or replicate it without protecting the rights of the actual inventor and entrepreneur itself. And so some of those things do get covered in those different types of modules themselves. So who created it? Well, we didn't create it. We support it, but we didn't create it. But it was created by a lot of patent holders, experts, legal experts, um, actual patent holders, and innovation experts themselves. And we're presenting the program as a collaboration with Qualcomm. Qualcomm has funded a lot of the TIPA program itself, and continues to advance it as a goal to proliferate nationally to all institutions of higher education. And in the role that we have as Venturewell as being a partner in higher education and advancement of I&E, we were brought in by Qualcomm as our partner to continue to work with our institutions in communicating this program and the value that this program has for a lot of different people the in the ecosystem. So the modules themselves have five core areas, and they're listed here. but each core area has about a 15 to 20-minute video associated with the courses. So when a student or a faculty or staff goes and registers, they will get a dashboard. They'll get a toolbox that also shows them the metrics of completion of the different modules. And they go through viewing the videos almost like it's a YouTube video, but they're embedded into the system. And it goes through the different types of areas that get them to understand the patenting process and also the different types of things to consider as they go from idea to invention to commercialization. There's not quizzes or assessments or any type of ways to, have to complete the module and then move on to the next one. It's very much asynchronous and dynamic, but it's to educate, it's to inform, and it's to provide a useful guided path and as a resource to get that type of information and exposure out there. So, like the first module has about three videos in them, about 15, 20 minutes each. Students can register and then view it through their browser on their phone and look through it on their phone while they're in between classes or whatnot, or as they're commuting. Hopefully not in a car, but in a mass transit. We don't want them to be looking at it while they're driving. But they go through patent essentials, wonder what they understand what patents are all about. Value creation, which is very important, especially in customer discovery, and more importantly, in the process when they get to the commercialization stage for venturing and funding. And then we get into what is the patent system about? How does it work? How does it collaborate and coordinate that aspects? And also, what's the resources are out there beyond these modules, such as through the USPTO and other types of funding mechanisms, as I mentioned before, the Federal Lab Consortium, Licensing Executive Society, others, even ourselves as Venturewell. And then also understanding what patent law is about. It doesn't provide legal advice, but it understands what are some of the things that an inventor needs to consider in understanding the pre-IP, IP, and then also the provisional patenting process to patenting itself. And then working with the patenting, different types of patenting offices, namely the USPTO, but also working alongside different types of consortia or other entities that could be involved. It does talk a little bit about shared IP in some of these modules, and also talking about different forms of how IP is monetized, and also how it's delineated as far as what the shared IP looks like in terms of the ability to not only create the value, but also this distribution of the idea or invention itself. So each module is five. Like I said, there's five total, and there's a couple of different subsections or sections in it. And as they progress, their dashboard continues to increase, and they get a little bit of encouragement about that. But also, it's based on their own progress and pathway, and also based on how they would like to consume. And they could move from different modules as they go along. It's not longitudinal per se. They can go and do different sections. If you integrate this into your course or curricula, you can assign different sections or provide it as a resource, but it's there to use as a tool for you, and also to further explain in some of your programming that you do, whether it's at your entrepreneurship center or college or university itself. And so it could be for undergraduate or graduate students. It could be used, as I said before, in your innovation hub or entrepreneurship center. You can also use it for training and development of staff, tech transfer officers, or as additional resource for information and understanding scope of work or practices, or partnering with other types of stakeholders in the ecosystem itself. And also, you can use it as a tool to share with your community partners. If you're doing any type of activity at your innovation center and like to introduce this to your community, it's widely available and to be used. It's encouraged to be used. It's to promote I&E as a whole and promote the spirit of I&E. And so feel free to share as a resource. And then also, I put this in a different color, but leverage us too. We can help and provide support with this program. I can talk about it further, but also other programs. But you can also use us as a support organization with a lot of different types of programming use that you're doing on campus as well. This tool or other programs that we may have, or other things as you look and understand how we partner and how we work across the board. our role as in higher education is very important. It all starts in higher education. And so please feel free to reach out to me at any time for any type of activities beyond TIP itself. So how do you promote this? One of the things we ask is that you use the QR code. If you want to take the picture now, or when you do look at the recording, you can take the picture. It's also at the inventorspatentacademy.org/venturewell. This will take you to the landing page that I'm pointing to. Like you probably are like, why is he pointing over there? That's my second screen right there where I have the display. But you go, it takes you to the landing page and it allows you to register for free. We would ask that you use a .edu address. That way it helps to link to the institution. It's not required, but it's preferred. Also, it helps in terms of if you're promoting it to students. Sometimes institutions get a little funny with student identification, student identifiers for FERPA reasons. An EDU address sometimes clears that all up, so it's helpful in that aspect. And it helps the student in terms of engaging if they feel like they don't want to give their personal information out. But it gives them the full access immediately and then gets them into the modules themselves. Um, in my role as director, I'm quite busy, but I do find some time. I'm an adjunct professor at University of South Carolina at Dartmouth School of Business, and I too do teach new venture development. And so I have integrated this program into my course. It's for juniors and seniors in management and entrepreneurship. I integrated this semester, and what I'm doing is as an activity where I'm providing it to them. I give them points for registering, and then I ask them to do is go through the program to understand during the semester just the IP process, so they're aware of it. Because one of the courses they take in the capstone course in our program at USC, the other USC for Elaine that's over there in California, she's used to the other USC, but we say USC on this side. But um, uh, the one thing we want them to do is they might be doing this in their capstone course where they're doing a commercialization type of process and looking at venturing. So I like them to get them exposed to this course that comes right before the other course that just so they know what this looks like. And then what I'm having them do is a reflection paper at the end of the semester, what they learned, what they experienced, what did they not know before about intellectual property and patenting, and just their overall experience with the tool itself. And so that's how I integrate it into my course. I've had others that are using it as extra credit just to go through it, and some of them are using it as a teaching module where they bring it into the lectures or they bring it in to provide as a resource, whether it's online or on campus, and then do an assessment of what they learned afterwards. But free to look at it anyway. I've also had a off-campus entrepreneurship center use it as a tool for their community partners, but also as a way to kind of provide it as a resource for those community partners. And so some startups that are in the general Columbia, South Carolina area. And so that's what it's about. It's about expanding and creating the motto of Invent Together, because that's the organization that's also supporting it is inventtogether.org. So that's what you have to do is just continue to promote it. The free courses, the Inventors Patent Academy /venturewell, and the QR code is there, but they could just use the URL as well too. Um,
So
and the
Mike,
other, yeah,
can I
is
jump
there a
in?
question?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about using it in your class, and I'm really curious about that. So,
Hmm.
um, we have students taking our entrepreneurship courses, and they often will, not all of our classes, but often they have come up with an idea, work on it, try to build a business. Most of the time, they don't have patentable IP, right?
Hmm.
Certainly in my assessment. Um, I guess, but it's still, is this exercise meant to be a great learning experience, whether they're
Yeah.
actively trying to patent something or
Yep.
not? Is that one of the use
Yep.
cases here for your students?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up because I'm in the business school as well, right? And I have a lot of students that come to also take this course as an elective course and they're marketing or supply chain or finance or whatnot. So two things. Number one, I always say If you're not interested in invention, or if you're not interested in starting a business or entrepreneurship itself, there's always a seat at the table because I do a lot of pitch fests, I do a lot of judging, things like that. And even on the STEM side, when I'm at a university or at a conference, and there's a bunch of life sciences folks and engineering folks, etc. What's the one gap that I continue to circle back to in their pitch? Is the business plan and what else? The scalability and startup. And I'm like, first question I ask is, have you engaged a business school on your campus? Have you engaged business students? Do you have anybody on your team? Sometimes the answer is, well, most of the times it's no, because they're so focused on the idea, right? And so, which is fine. But I'm like, if you're great prototype, great idea, but you're not going to get traction or scaling if you're not engaging some of these other students that could help you with that. So I explain that to the students as well, because there's always that seat at the table for whether you're a startup or whether you're an organization for this process. The other thing is at University of South Carolina, we have a lot of cross-programming engagement with the Molinari College of Engineering. And so we do have students that are taking business and entrepreneurship as a minor that are engineering students, computer science engineering students, that this is very, very valuable for them in the classroom. And so they're getting the technical assistance side on their end, whether they're looking at this, but also then they're getting what the startup and the scalability looks like on the business side. And so that's where I see a lot of complementaries occur. And we have a
Yeah,
number of students at the university that are currently have pre-IP or a prototype that are out there that are juniors and seniors and grads that are out there pitching, but they're missing these gaps, and that's why they're coming into the business classrooms.
got it. That's great insights. And
Yeah.
I guess part of my question is around, the fact that lots of startups either don't need a patent or they don't need it yet, or they maybe never have a patent, right? But I
Hmm.
guess it's still valuable for them to learn from this process. Is that part of what you're saying here?
Yeah, and also the pitfalls of what that looks like if they don't. There's so many stories out there of people that had a great idea or had an idea that might have been even expanded upon the initial idea, but they never receive the monetary rewards or recognition for the work that they've done. And we've seen case studies of like that all the time. Movies too, right? But
Well, that was my next question around things like copyrights and trademarks. I assume
mhm.
that's covered in here as well.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah. All within the intellectual property rights in the different types of ways they look like, either whether it's a device, prototype, or whether they're copyrighted, or whether they are conceptual in nature. So yeah. And,
very
and it's a good primer for anybody just to know what that virtual window looks like. And sometimes I've seen this before, not only just with this program, but in the classroom and also talking to students out in nationally, is having that conversation initially, even if when a student isn't seeking it, creates that creativity and ideas because it just creates exposure. And so, we banty about a lot of words in our vernacular, right? MVP and IP and INE and the Valley of Death and all these other things, and it floats in people's heads. And then when you introduce what they actually look like, it's like, oh, okay, I see what that is. I see what the journey is, or I see what that pathway is. And then it also then backfills to help cultivate just their own creativity, curiosity, and ideas in that aspect. And so, like I said, one thing our students always love is open access resources, especially with textbook prices these days. So as another tool, it's free. And that's the first thing I say, hey, it's free. And I hope this helps fuel your curiosity, but also your
uh,
informs you, you
now,
know.
did you copyright the material even if it's free?
Yeah, well, I'd have to ask the inventors themselves. Well,
Yeah, right.
it's part of their philanthropy, but well, I could tell you that it's not copyrighted by Qualcomm because they're a funder, but they're funding it as the
Well,
org that quote unquote owns this is inventtogether.org, and they are a nonprofit entity. And
it's
so,
okay, Mike. I meant that more of as a joke.
oh no, I'm just saying that that's my interpretation of it.
Yeah.
So,
We do have a
you know,
couple of questions in the chat. I think one
oh
of them
yeah,
is around that how you use this in the class. So
okay.
the question was, can you see this question comes from the great Midwest city of Quincy, Illinois, and can the instructor see the progression of the student as they go through the videos? So if you send your students to this tool, do you as an instructor get to see their progress?
Yes, if they use an EDU address, that's another great question because then you can link it up to their EDU addresses, and that's another reason because of FERPA for the institution gets a little wonky with that. But also you can tap. There is a section in the module where you can tap in where you can you can invite students to join you. You cannot um, just automatically go in there. There's a mechanism or tool where you'd have to send an invite for them to join
Okay,
your
got it. So you
to join
basically
you.
sign up as an instructor, then you invite your students to
Yeah,
your
yeah.
instance
Actually,
here.
you would just sign up as a user, but you can invite people to your community.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, there's not a module or admin page per se. Everybody's a singular user, but you can invite multiple users to your community.
And Yop makes a great point that even if your student, even if the entrepreneur's business does not end up needing or worthy of a patent, it's still a great exercise so
Yeah,
they can
yeah,
figure out where the real
yeah.
value is. Is it the idea? Is it the execution? So yeah, I think that's a
And,
great point.
and one thing I do is I try to keep it simple too, is for myself and also for the students. So I do have some activities like registration and things like that. And what I asked them to do, because everybody uses their smartphone, is I did it in class. I gave them the QR code or I gave them the link. And I said, hey, at the end of class, go ahead and register or do this activity. Take a screenshot. And I use Canvas. And at our university, I said, upload it as a screenshot to Canvas. And so I can review it. And that's how I do it. So I don't create barriers to the student, but that's one of the things I do. And I get instant, my response rate is in the 90 percentile because I make it pretty simple to them. Do it, say, screenshot it. That's your evidence, upload it. And then I have them do a journal too, which is like 100 words or less of what they learned with their screenshot. And it's all archived in Canvas.
Cool.
Yep.
I like that. I'm taking notes for my next class
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that.
yeah. I try to
Uh,
make it as simple as possible. Most of my students are in class, they have laptops, but I always just say, hey, you can do it on your phone too. And then now the reflective paper is a formalized assessment, but at the end of the semester, but the activities themselves, if I'm tracking it and I'm also giving them points, I try to make it as simple as possible for them.
cool. I might have missed this part, but once the students kind of go through and figure out, what types of patents they might need, how do they access all the free legal help that you guys offer?
Okay. Well, there's resources for the legal help.
And
Um, uh,
I'm sorry to
yeah,
interrupt again, but I know that you can't give everybody free patents. I know
yeah,
you can access that, but
yeah,
I'm also curious as to how other universities may be on the call.
sure.
How do you manage that part? I know
Yeah, please, you can
we've
let them
got
know,
our
but
university IP, the tech transfer side, but when it's a student, and they need maybe to talk to a patent attorney, I'm curious as to how folks manage that. And Mike, I'm sorry, you can go ahead and
no,
answer
one thing
first.
I was just going to say is we have two programs that address that, but they're very specialized based on because we bring in VCs, but we also bring in legal people like licensing executive society that helps with patenting advice. But that's usually based on a particular type of actual program in a particular region. One example of this is called Flip Space, where we worked with University of Arkansas and also the Walton Family Foundation in Arkansas in two different areas. One in autonomous AI use for vehicles and logistics, and another one we just completed in health tech. And what we do is we take existing IP that's sitting in federal labs that's given access to us by the FLC, and we take it to a commercialization studio at the University of Arkansas called Highway Ventures. And we try to commercialize that with student inventors and faculty. And the first one we had about a 30 to 35% success rate. We had 10 projects and about three went to commercialization, which is pretty decent in the project. The other one just was wrapping up, so we're still looking and measuring that process, but they get a lot of legal advice there in that particular program. Another program we have is called Aspire, and that's also targeted because we do that like we did one in Detroit, one in Houston area with Greenhouse Labs, and with different universities there. We did one up in Boston in MedTech. Once again, they have different types of themes, but it's a large 60 to 80 hour program with student inventors, faculty, and investors. And it's pretty decent sized program, but those are just some examples of different things that we have within that we provide. But curious to hear what other institutions are doing in that space with legal
Yeah,
aspects.
I'm curious too. I know because yeah, you get the student or the entrepreneur figuring out, hey, maybe I do need a patent here. And or even if it's around incorporation or employment, all kinds of things. And the first thing they have to do is try to dig up enough money to pay their lawyer, right? And that's often a
Hmm.
big barrier. And
Yeah,
especially around patents, you don't want to try to you can't get your AI tool to draw up your patent documents, or at least maybe you should, maybe you can, I'm not sure, but maybe you shouldn't. So yeah, I'm curious how other folks engage like legal support. Lewis,
yeah. At the MIT Venture Mentoring Service, when our first of all, we have mentors who will indicate, you really got to look into a patent about this, and we have what we call office hours where they can meet at no charge with a patent attorney. The patent attorney can't do the actual work because there's no charge, but at least it gives them advice, and then if they and suggests maybe you go get a real patent lawyer, but at least it gets them started. Also, our technology licensing office actually has office hours themselves to how do you deal with the licensing office, that it's not the devil incarnate. And we have within our mentor pool former executives within the licensing office who also give advice. It works very well.
Yeah. Georgetown University Law School graduates more lawyers than any other college in the world. That may not be a great thing to brag about, the world, do we need lots more lawyers? I'm not sure, but we have some alumni that offer some of that similar kind of service. But I do think it still is the difference between getting a little bit of free advice and then needing to actually become a client and getting the deeper legal support. And that is often, I mean, that's a challenge for entrepreneurs across the board, right? The legal fees are often the biggest bill you have to pay in that early stage.
Hmm.
And we make them understand that.
Yeah. The hardest part, I think Mike referenced this earlier, is like if you don't get it done the right way, it costs you a lot more later down the road, either
Hmm.
in additional fees or just lost business opportunities.
Right.
We had one of our young alums. He was a student when he started the business, and he actually got a VentureWell E-Team grant. I'll give
Hmm.
VentureWell a shout out. And he had students from a couple of other universities that he knew that worked with him, but his attorney did not do a good job with the employment paperwork. And so these other members of the team, ended up a year later not being willing to sign a proper employment agreement where they assigned IP rights to the company, right? So the company was trying to raise capital, and the venture capitalists wouldn't put the money in until they knew for sure that the IP was owned by the business, not by these individuals who had not signed. The employment paperwork wasn't done right at the front end, and it ended up causing one reason the company didn't succeed.
By the way, one thing that also I might suggest, we've mentored, I don't know, about 4,000 entrepreneurs, and we have what we call the founders list server, where there are several hundred of our founders on it, and it's for the entrepreneurs. And they'll very often, they can ask, I'm looking for a patent lawyer that can do this, this, and that, that's not too expensive, etc. And usually you get very good suggestions by people who will recommend lawyers that they have been very satisfied with. It works very well.
Excellent.
That's great. And I was just gonna, that's my contact information there. I want to continue this conversation, so I'll close out my part real quick. But I also want to just mention on the next slide here, uh, one of the programs that we have for faculty and staff is called our Ecosystems Futures Fellowship Program. The RFP for the next round just was released yesterday. If you go to venturewell.org and you go under Ecosystem Futures Fellowship, or you look me up under LinkedIn, I have the link there as well in my post. But this is a great program. Jeff was mentioning e-teams, and we also had over the last 20 plus years what's called course and programming. And course and programming is we provided seed funding and support for faculty to build their courses and programs in innovation and entrepreneurship. Over 2 years ago, we've evolved this program into ecosystem development. And so the Ecosystems Futures Fellowship Program is a team of two. One must be a faculty member. The other one could be an administrator, a staff member, like in commercialization tech transfer within the institution. It could be multiple institutions within the team, but the team is two faculty fellows or two futures fellows, and they go through immersive 1 year program in building their overall ecosystem with administration, understanding the resource capacity, building partnerships within their community, and expansion all within their INE programming. They also go on two immersive campus experiences where they get to look at other ecosystems and also learn from speakers and community partners and faculty and administrators. Last year, we went to New Orleans and we were at Dillard University, Tulane University, University of New Orleans, which is now LSU New Orleans, in October, we went to Georgia Tech at Tech Square with Emory, Georgia Tech, Spelman Morehouse, and also Georgia State, and got to look at all those things going on in Atlanta. And then in the spring, we went to Portland State University and also Oregon State University and looked at some of the areas going on in the Pacific Northwest ecosystem. What happens is the faculty fellows work on their action planning, their partnerships, and their development plan over that year with our communities of practice and with our training and development. And then they're eligible in years 2 and 3 for what's called a Catalyst Grant. And the Catalyst Grant is $85,000 that's sent to their institution directly. And it continues to work and build on their action planning for the next 2 years. And we just announced those awards for the next 2 years that they're beginning the program on September 1st. This particular program is competitive, but where it starts again, the RFP starts now, and it closes on August 30th, and there's criteria of how to submit your submission in our website and align to the goals of the program and also your overall idea or conceptualization. If awarded,
Just real quick, Mike, you
yeah.
said it would close August 30th, but I think
Oh,
that's
I'm sorry. It
actually
closes
October.
October 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah, October 30th. So it closes October 30th. It started August 27th and yesterday, and it's all done on in the portal. And then if awarded, the program starts March of 27, and you receive $30,000 total award, $10,000 each direct, non-dilutive to each fellow, and then a $5,000 travel stipend to go to each of the two immersive campus experiences. One will be in June, and the other one will be in the fall in September or October, with our community partners and our institutions of higher education that host those. And so it's a great program. We had 13 teams and 26 fellows in the last cohort. This cohort, we will have 20 teams and 40 fellows that are eligible. So encourage you to look at that. If some of these ideas of supporting faculty, Jeff mentioned the e-teams program. Our next cohort, that RFP closes at the end of this month for students that may be interested for the winter term. We have three different programs, but the one that most students enter into is called the Pioneer Program. They receive $5,000 non-dilutive funding, and then also technical support and assistance. And then they also attend a convening nationally with other student inventors and entrepreneurs. Then we also have the Ascend program that also helps them scale in another facet that is up to $25,000 of funding to help scale a model and build a program. And they also receive support and technical assistance in business model canvassing
So many
and
great
development.
things.
Yep.
I'm gonna jump in. VentureWell's got a lot going on.
Yep.
Sounds like you're busy.
Yep, we got a lot of different things going on, but as I said before, we just take a look at our website and different things that we have and different ways that we can continue to support you all. And just I will be at GCEC, plug for GCEC 2026. Calgary was outstanding. Had a great time last year, well attended. I think I always look at attending these things in terms of ROI, and I had a very high ROI last year. I think I spent 13, 14-hour days engaging everybody. And so looking forward to seeing you all again this year in Tallahassee and continuing the conversation. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate it. These issues are important for our community, and it is great to see all these amazing resources. I took a lot of notes for how I might use this in my class, and I also shared the the program with some of my colleagues already in our tech transfer office, for example, and said, "Hey, let's make
Great.
sure we use this free resource that's got high
Mhm.
quality content."
Yep, great. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Thank you for
Awesome.
everybody joining me today too. And if anybody has any other comments or questions, I'd be free to address those. But I know time is limited, but I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all today.
Thanks, Mike, so much for doing this. I think we can officially adjourn and maybe keep the room open if anybody wants to stick around after the recording stops for last comments. But once again, big shout out, Mike and Venture Well. Thanks so much for the work you do.
Okay.